list now.
Checking it twice.
You said connecting tubing. What the hell does that mean?
So again, gird your loins, Richard.
My loins?
Yeah, don't get offended.
Are you going to talk about that split tube on the ozonator like I've done that on purpose and I'm an asshole?
No, there's a lot of connections under your house that I feel that I'm like, ugh.
Oh, okay.
Well, because like on your Kameyer four-headed doser, and you got the colored lines that you pushed onto. So this is just funny. These are maybe like personality quirks. So like when I'm installing and connecting stuff, I'm like, I feel like, you know, they always say, cut the tubing square and clean. And Richard's is kind of like at an angle and squished on. And it's like, I was looking at the connections. And it's funny though, because I think to myself, is that something that I'm making a big deal in my head? And would my connections be just as easy to fall off as what Richard did? So that I have to ask Richard, have you ever had a problem with those tubes falling?
Well, that's only been up for about a week.
Okay, so we're just starting.
No, it's been up for about a month. And did you pull on them?
I was afraid to, man.
Doesn't come off. And that's not its forever home. So
okay.
That's going to move as soon as I figure out a way to put that on a wall or something.
Now, let me ask you
that pump, to make you feel better or it's stupid, depending on how you, it's fallen and rolled around several times.
Okay.
And those connections don't come off.
Okay. I'm probably making a big deal about nothing.
Yeah, I think so. I think you just go, I like the way things I like it because I worked at the Houston Zoo and I've been doing this since 1960 and I have legs.
Your way is strong. But so let me ask a question. And you know, this is can go to beefers too. So I know when you're using the Neptune Apex dose, I know it was super popular that everyone was switching those out for that John Guest thing. Because I guess people were having fits over connections. And I guess maybe, you know, headed to their dosing containers that they really wanted to use like RO tubing. And so, and I've seen people do that before, use on the regular. You're making a face like you don't know what I'm talking about.
Well, I know exactly what you're talking about. I just don't think you understand why people went to the speed fittings from what comes on the dose.
Okay, tell me real quick.
But I'm going to let you finish your story first.
Because on my doses that I have out there, for whatever reason, I took a different route. So I don't like, you know, RO tubing is sort of hard, sort of rigid. And if you push it on a nipple with that locking nut, that's sort of like a rigid tubing on a compression nipple. And that material doesn't compress.
Yeah, that won't work at all.
Yeah. Well, so I take RO tubing, you know, that's coming from the container holding the whatever I'm dosing. I go with the John Guest coupling, and then I go with the John Guest, those barb, you know, that fits in there. And then I just do soft tubing, you know, from off of that barb, just a little short run of soft tubing. And I put soft tubing because soft tubing is what's meant to go on that nipple and then the locking nut. Never had a single problem with it.
No, but I don't think soft tubing is supposed to go into a John Guest fitting.
No, it does not go into a John Guest fitting because I have.
You put that.
Then the barb with insert, then soft tubing on the barb.
Right. So it's a barb that inserts into the John Guest fitting.
It's sort of 6 1/2 dozen the other. It's just another way to do that. Right.
Okay. Now I understand. We started putting the speed fittings, John Guest fittings, speed fittings, same thing. One's a brand, one's Kleenex, one's a tissue. We started putting those on because people were finding that with those lock nuts and the nipple and the soft tubing, that sometimes they were getting leaks. So
maybe if you use vinyl tubing.
No, with vinyl tubing, jackass.
Okay.
You could get leaks.
Yeah.
Sometimes it would happen. It happened to me several times and it drove me fucking crazy. So I decided to go to the speed fitting. So what you do is you cut the nipple off and then you screw the speed fitting on, and then you can put your RO tubing right into there and it doesn't leak. You do have to Teflon tape or dope the threads. So it is extra work.
Mine's extra work too, though.
Right. But then you get the ability to pop the tubes in and out without a thought, and you kind of know it's not going to leak. I'm not using tape anymore, by the way. I'm using a thread dope, because you just go and then you put them on.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why. So I mean, but you know, everything in reef keeping is 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
Yeah.
Except for ICP testing, and anything we don't like. Yeah. So very often when people are having a problem with their dose and they go, it's not pumping anything. It's like your connection's not seated well.
Yeah. It's not creating a vacuum.
Yeah. So, you know, it can be easier to tell newbies or to tell inexperienced people, cut the nipple off, put this thing on it, and then use this tube and clink, you're all done. You don't have to try to get it over the nipple far enough and then compress it enough in the right way.
Well, and again, this is why I don't love vinyl tubing, and I have not for a long time. And this is why I do love silicone tubing, because it has the squish and the give. And when you push it on that nipple, even without the lock nut, I'd always use the lock nut, but the silicone just grips onto the damn nipple.
So I think this is totally 6 of one, half dozen of the other. But I'd like to point out that you were upset about something you didn't understand. That made me happy.
No, I don't think it was that I didn't understand. It's just, I think I don't think it was that I didn't understand it. It's just that I was making a bigger deal out of it than it deserved. No, not understanding.
You didn't understand why people went to the speed fittings on the dose connections.
No, I totally did. But
no.
I understood because I had read that before.
No,
because people were putting shitty tubes on there and it was drawing bubbles in. I knew that.
No, it wasn't shitty tubes. It was regular tubing. Oh, you think vinyl tubing is shitty tubing?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. I understand now.
So apologize.
You're still wrong. Okay. Oh, there was somebody online saying that you don't have to cut the nipple off, but you need to put the RO tubing into the speed fitting before you thread it in place on the dose cartridge. Right. Huh. I don't like that because it means you can't change the tubing without unscrewing right. It takes half of the benefit of using a speed fitting away. Right. Yeah. If you don't know what a speed fitting is, it's a fitting that you push a certain size tubing into, and there's a gasket. There's a gasket inside.
Yeah, O-rings.
An O-ring. That's what I want to say.
And those metal biters.
And some metal teeth. And you push it in, and the teeth grab the tubing, and the O-ring seals, so no fluid is touching the metal of the teeth, and then it's perfectly sealed. And if you need to get the tubing out again, you kind of squeeze something in.
It's called a collet.
You push the collet in, and it pushes the teeth away so you can pull the tubing out. They're pretty great. If you don't know what they are, take a look at them. We'll put the link to the ones that you use for the dose in the bottom.
What do they call them generally? Push to connect.
Push to connect.